AITA for going on trip with my family that my wife isn't going on. Recently my parents surprised me, 26 meters, and my siblings, 16 and 19, with a ski trip this December the day after Christmas. My parents offered to pay for my expenses and said that my wife, 24, was welcome to come, but she would need to pay her way. My wife and I are okay financially, but with the trip being so close to Christmas we wouldn't be able to afford to pay for her to go. Despite this, I really wanted to go on the trip as it was always a dream of mine to go on a trip like this. My family grew up dirt poor until I was about 15 when my parents' business took off, and now they extremely comfortable and can afford to pay for trips like this for us. They could certainly afford to pay for my wife to also go. But they have always been this way when it comes to paying for things for me versus my wife. My parents think it's only fair to pay for me when we go out to eat or go on trips because they are still paying for my siblings. I don't ask them to, but it is nice to save money, so on every trip they will pay my way. Room and board, excursions, meals, while my wife was expected to pay her way. This started before we were married. This has always bothered my wife, especially after we got married, and they still excluded her so in these past 2 years since we got married, so I tried to limit the trips since they bother her so much. But this is a once-in-a-lifetime trip for me, so I thought she would be supportive of me going. But she's very upset and hurt. She wants to go on the trip, but like I said, we just can't afford it, which she understands. She told me she does want me to have this experience, but she is sad because she thinks my parents purposefully exclude her. AITA for choosing to go on the trip and leave her behind. I still have time to cancel on my parents, but I know they would be sad. She told me she does want me to have this experience, but she is sad because she thinks my parents purposefully exclude her. AITA for choosing to go on the trip and leave her behind. I still have time to cancel on my parents, but I know they would be sad. Please read what you wrote. YTA. You really think your parents don't know what they are doing here? Save up and do a similar trip with your wife as a couple if it's that important to you. YTA. YTA. Either she's family to your parents or she isn't. And clearly she isn't. And you're a serious to your wife by letting your family continuously exclude her. They should either be paying for both of you, or you and your wife should be covering for the two of you. YTA. This isn't a weekend getaway with the guys. This is a family trip. Your wife is part of the family now. You are a package deal. If you can't both go on this trip, then neither of you should be going. YTA. Your parents are excluding your wife. It has hurt her in the past and she told you that. But you thought a really great trip would be less hurtful? It's up to you to stand up for your wife and make sure they treat her as a member of the family. It might mean missing cool trips, but you are responsible for standing up for her with your family. Your parents are doing this purposely, and need to be told it isn't okay. So your parents don't like your wife and are purposely trying to drive a wedge between you two? And you seem to be letting them? YTA. YTA. You're concerned that your parents will be sad? WTH. What about your wife being upset she's deliberately left out? They could certainly afford to pay for my wife to also go. But they have always been this way when it comes to paying for things for me versus my wife. So, you are well aware that your parents are intentionally excluding your wife. And apparently, this is definitely not the first time. And you don't understand why she's so hurt and upset about this. Especially when it's during Christmas. Think about it, dude. Think real hard. YTA. YTA. Your poor wife. Maybe her next marriage will be with someone who respects her like she deserves. I hope you are going to be cool with your wife excluding your parents from her future children's lives. Info. Why on earth would they pay for you and not your wife? That's absurd. What's their logic? YTA. What do you mean with being near Christmas you can't afford it? You should be canceling all gift giving to pay for your wife. I can't believe you are planning to leave her behind. YTA. Did it occur to you that if your parents had given more notice you might have had time to save up the money or change up the Christmas budget so that she could go too? But they didn't, did they? They don't care whether she is able to come or not, and it sounds like you don't either. Info. What is your plan when they start paying for your siblings' partners? YTA. You'd rather your wife, the innocent party, be sad than your parents, who are always going out of their way to exclude your wife. How can you do this and still at yourself in the mirror? Any true husband would stand by their wife and refuse to go if their spouse is not treated equally. Seriously. Do you even love your wife? Because from your actions it doesn't look like it. Grow a backbone. Refuse to go. And spend some quality time instead with your wife, who I bet would support you 100% if the roles were reversed. YTA. If you don't start standing up for your wife, you won't be married for long. Your parents are very weird. They should either pay for both of you or neither of you. She is your wife. Your family and your parents refusing to see her as such shows a whole different issue. Also, you not standing up to them but instead let yourself be bought and picking free trips over your wife is ridiculous. YTA. Your parents too. YTA. This is the type of thing that leads to divorce over time. I'd either pay for wife to go or not go. The mountains aren't going anywhere. YTA. TLDR. My parents have enough money to include my wife, but not enough class or manners to. And I don't care enough to let it stop me from doing things with them without her. Since we can't afford to pay her way, why does this bother my wife? YTA. What happens if you have children? Will they pay for you and the children and still refuse to include her and you not pay for her to go? I'm not saying they have to pay for her, but if she don't go, you don't go.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. AmITheAsshole is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.